I stare at the judge, her gavel poised in the air, and the world around me slows to a halt. My heart is racing, pounding in my chest like a war drum. I can feel the heat rising to my cheeks as my husband stands before me, his face twisted in rage, each word like a knife cutting deeper into my soul. He is not mine. He screams, his voice echoing through the chaotic courtroom, and for a moment I can't breathe. The words hang in the air, heavy and suffocating, wrapping around me like a thick fog. The spectators murmur, their whispers clawing at my skin while I struggle to reconcile the man I once loved with the boy standing there, red-faced and furious. I can't help but blink back the tears pooling in my eyes. How did we end up here, on this precipice of despair? Just before the memories flood back, a shattering tableau of what once was, I catch a whiff of his cologne. That once soothing scent of cedar and musk, now just a reminder of all that has gone wrong. Can you believe it? We're going to be parents. His voice rang in my ears, a joyous lilt that felt like music coursing through my veins. I can see it so vividly, the way my husband's eyes sparkled under the soft glow of the dining room lights, reflecting every bit of happiness that had filled our hearts since we found out I was pregnant. We were sitting at our small round table, dimly lit by the flickering candles I'd put out on a whim. The scent of my homemade pasta wafted around us, mingling with the clinking of glasses filled with good red wine. Everything felt right in that moment, a bright, vibrant future stretching before us. "You're going to be an amazing mother," he said, reaching across the table, his fingers brushing against mine. "I promise to be there every step of the way. Together, right?" I asked, squeezing his hand, looking directly into his eyes. I felt a warm rush of love, an unshakable assurance that nothing could tear us apart. "Always," he replied, and I felt the world fade away, just us in our cocoon of dreams. The truth was, I had only ever known a world of love and bliss since we had met. But slowly, over the months of my pregnancy, that idyllic scene unraveled in ways I could never foresee. The laughter morphed into silence, and the sweet phone calls turned into secretive glances and hidden texts. I tried to ignore the warnings, the subtle sense of dread that began to grow within me, like a weed choking out the flowers in a once beautiful garden. "You're just tired, honey," he would say when I confronted him about his late nights at work. "It's only a few more weeks, and then we can focus on us, on the baby." The words tasted bitter, the lies hanging between us like smoke. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of something sinister lurking just beneath the surface. And that fear tripled when I felt the first kicks from inside me. "That's our little miracle," I'd whispered to my belly, but the joy was shadowed by uncertainty. As the months progressed, I noticed how he would pull away, how he'd subtly gaslight me into believing I was imagining things. I started inviting my best friend Sarah over, thinking her presence might lift my spirits. One evening, sitting on the couch with her over a cup of steaming chamomile tea, I let out my worries. "Do you think he's cheating on me?" I whispered, my voice reflecting the heartbreak I couldn't quite process. The rain pattered softly against the window, emphasizing the tension swirling around us. "What? Jamie? No way. He loves you," Sarah exclaimed, her enthusiasm barely masking her concern. "You're pregnant. You're just stressed. It's normal. Maybe you should talk to him." But every time I tried to confront him, the argument always circled back to me. "Why are you so insecure? You think I'm out there with someone else? You've got it all. A baby on the way, a house, a loving husband. You should be thankful." His voice rose, his words cutting through me like shards of glass, and I found myself apologizing for wanting reassurance. Now, as I sit in this harrowing moment in this courtroom, I can't help but question where everything went so horribly wrong. The whispers that followed my husband's furious proclamation haunt me, like the fog from that dreaded night when I discovered the truth. A DNA test, a lifeline, a betrayal in the guise of a revelation. The twists and turns led me to unimaginable depths of despair, all while hiding the raw, choking fear that I might lose it all. I had trusted him with everything, my heart, my very being, and now I was left facing the disintegration of my reality. And so here we are, staring down the gavel's final judgment. I take a deep breath, summoning courage from the shattered remnants of my heart. Today, in this courtroom, is where the fight for the truth begins. Image prompt. tight courtroom, dimly lit with fluorescent lights casting an unflattering glare. The judge sitting sternly behind her wooden bench, gavel raised. The husband stands across the room, a tall man in a crisp navy suit, his hair slicked back but unkempt from rage. I sit in the front row, a petite woman in a flowing pale green dress, with tears threatening to fall from my hazel eyes, a mess of emotions reflected in my face. The days stretched into months, and the bright spark of our initial joy faded like an old photograph left too long in the sun. Somehow, I found myself living in a shadowy landscape of suspicion and loneliness, each day echoing with my husband's voice, turning every reassuring phrase into a cold, hard shard of reality. It had all begun on that idyllic night we celebrated my pregnancy, but as the excitement simmered, the smiles faded into forced looks that no one would believe, least of all, me. My friends, once the vibrant threads in the tapestry of my life, slowly unraveled from my world like pieces of frayed fabric, leaving behind an empty loom. "Jamie, can we invite Sarah over for dinner this Saturday?" I suggested one evening, my tone hopeful, eyes pleading for him to agree. The house was too quiet. I craved the warmth of companionship, the lilt of laughter, anything to pull me from the suffocating isolation. "No," he replied curtly, not bothering to meet my gaze. The cold edge in his voice was like ice slicing through the warmth of the moment. "You should focus on us and the baby. I don't want you distracted." I felt my heart plummet. "I'm not distracted. I just thought it would be nice, you know? Just a small get-together," I responded, forcing the words through clenched teeth. But it felt more like I was begging. "I told you no," he snapped back, his eyes hard like shards of flint, a dangerous flicker dancing in their depths. "What is it that you don't understand? You're making too much out of this. Just be patient." His voice dripped with disdain, an echo of an accusation that shimmered in the air. And I nodded silently, swallowing down the taste of defeat. That taste settled heavy on my tongue, a constant reminder of a growing rift I could barely understand. Weeks turned into months. My phone buzzed less frequently, and the familiar chirp of incoming messages from my friends faded into oblivion. Every attempt to reach out felt stifled by guilt, and every conversation I had only fed the disquiet brewing within me. "You should be grateful, you know," Jamie said one evening, seething with frustration when I dared to mention I missed Sarah. "You've got a husband who works hard for you. Why do you need anyone else?" His eyes narrowed, almost daring me to disagree, the air between us thickening with tension. "I miss my friends. I don't think wanting to connect with people is too much to ask," I replied, my voice trembling as I spoke, unsure of the territory I was treading. "Don't take this the wrong way," he said, leaning closer, and the noise of his words twisted into an intimate threat. "But I can't help it if you feel like you're losing friends. If they weren't supportive of us, maybe they shouldn't be in your life, Jamie." "That's not fair," I protested, but the fire in his eyes reminded me how helpless I felt, how powerless against his chilling logic. "I just want to talk to them. You used to love being around them." "Of course I loved it, when it was convenient for me," he retorted, the bitter edge in his voice slicing through my defenses. "But now we're starting a family, and things change." I leaned back, feeling the cushions swallow me as he crushed the realization that my world had become so small. As months blurred into one another, the weight of that isolation began to suffocate my spirit, leaving me a mere whisper of who I had been. It wasn't just the friends. It was every decision, both small and monumental, rooted deep in a soil of dependency. I had given up control of finances, my sense of self slipping day by day. Even as my belly grew, so did my fear. "Can you take care of the bills this month?" I asked tentatively one afternoon, the gardens outside trying to bloom into spring. I avoided eye contact, staring at the bouquet of wilting forget-me-nots on the counter. "No, I'm busy," he replied sharply, eyes glued to the television screen, the flickering glow bathing his face in shades of blue. "You can handle it yourself." "I don't think I can," I whispered, my heart pounding in my chest. "What if something goes wrong? What if he mimicked laughter laced with derision spilling from his lips. "You need to toughen up. Sooner or later this baby will come and you need to be ready." With every encounter, every wounding word, I felt myself sinking deeper. my spirit entangled in his web of manipulation, each thread a reminder of my growing dependency. After one particularly harrowing night when he had stormed off during an argument, leaving me alone in that cavernous emptiness, I finally succumbed to despair. I collapsed into the armchair, the soft fabric wrapping around me like a cocoon, but instead of comfort, it felt stifling. All I wanted was to fight back, but how? Inching into the darkness of my thoughts, I began to create a plan for survival, one full of questions and breadcrumbs that I desperately hoped would lead to the truth. The fading memory of laughter and warmth haunted my past, and I clung to it tightly. I would no longer suffocate under his relentless control. I had to uncover what lay beneath the surface of his unwavering facade. I clenched my fists, my resolve hardening like iron. Image prompt. Dimly lit living room filled with the glow of the TV, shadows dancing across the walls. In the center, I sit in a worn armchair, shoulders slumped as I look down at the ground, my free-spirited face marred by anxiety. Jamie looms across from me, tall and imposing in a dark t-shirt, jaw clenched, eyes cold, dismissive laughter echoing in the stale air. The days went on, each one dragging like heavy fog, and the tension in the house felt as palpable as the humidity in the air. The nursery corner I had decorated with pastel colors now lay dormant, a reminder of the cheerful expectations that had spiraled into a suffocating reality. One evening, while cleaning up after dinner, I noticed a slip of paper peeking out from under the couch. My heart raced as I crouched down, the musty smell of the carpet pricking at my nose. I reached for it, pulling it into the light. It was a crumpled receipt, dated a week prior from a pharmacy not far from our house. The ink smudged slightly, but the words were clear enough. Paternity test kit. A chill ran down my spine and my stomach lurched. I could still feel the warm air of the kitchen swirling around me, the scent of garlic and rosemary lingering like a weight on my chest as I struggled to catch my breath. Why would Jamie get a paternity test? Did he think I was unfaithful? My mind raced through a whirlpool of insecurities that I didn't want to acknowledge. I swallowed hard, the lump in my throat growing larger with each passing second. Yet the thought gnawed at me. The jealousy, the confusion, it all rooted deep in a place I dared not visit. I rose to my feet and stared blankly into the void of our living room, reluctant to confront my fears head-on. What if this was all a misunderstanding? My heart pounded fiercely, each beat an echo reflecting the festering doubt. A soft knock on the door jolted me from my thoughts. It was Sarah. I opened the door and the brisk wind swept in along with her cheerful smile, though it felt misplaced in my tangled web of anxiety. "Hey, I brought baby clothes," she exclaimed, holding up a bright onesie decorated with cartoon animals. It smelled of fresh laundry and lavender detergent, a reminder of simpler times when my heart wasn't heavy with dread. "You should have seen the sales. They were amazing." "Oh, thanks," I returned, forcing a smile that felt foreign on my lips. "That's really sweet of you." A part of me wanted to talk about what I had just discovered, to share the weight of my worry, but my spirit faltered. Would she think I was paranoid? What if I was being irrational? As we settled on the couch, I couldn't help but toss the receipt deeper into my pocket, allowing the crumple of the paper to meld into the fabric of my jeans. "So, how's everything with you?" I asked, the words tumbling out as the kettle began to whistle in the kitchen. "Busy but good. You know, just juggling work and life, but it's manageable," she said, her eyes gleaming with genuine warmth. "Must be nice to be so free," I murmured, looking out through the window as the rain started to fall softly against the glass. Each droplet traced lazy patterns, blurring the world outside as if it were a reflection of my own mind, cloudy, uncertain, and chaotic. "What's going on with you? You seem pretty low," she pressed, her voice filled with concern as I felt the fissure in my facade start to crack. "It's just, I found this receipt," I admitted quietly, almost hesitant to let the words slip out. "Receipt? What do you mean?" she asked, leaning in closer, her enthusiasm dimmed by the gravity of my tone. I sighed, rubbing my fingers against the paper in my pocket. "It's from a paternity test kit," I revealed, and her eyes widened in shock. "I don't know what to think. I feel like I'm losing my mind." "Wait, you think he doubts you?" Sarah furrowed her brow as if weighing my words against her understanding of the man I spoke of. "Maybe. I don't know," I responded, biting my lip as panic bubbled within me. He's been so cold, and now I see this. It's like I'm unraveling, like everything is slipping from my fingers. Have you confronted him? She asked, her voice steady, a pillar holding me upright amid the chaos of my swirling thoughts. I shook my head. He'd just twisted around, make me feel like I'm the one doing something wrong, like always. It's like he sees the world through a lens of suspicion. Then you need to gather evidence, Sarah urged, determination in her voice as she leaned closer, the scent of her jasmine perfume enveloping me like a balm. You need to find out what's really going on. You deserve the truth. I nodded, the fear seeping into my bones but mingling with an ember of courage. I have to find out. I can't keep living like this. The rest of the evening felt surreal, a blurred outline of laughter and comfort wrapped in the smothering fog of my doubts. That receipt sat heavily in my pocket, burning against my hip, a reminder of the shattered trust and the darkness that seemed poised to swallow me whole. As my thoughts screamed in a cacophony, I resolved to dig deeper. I would pull back the layers of deception and reclaim my sense of self, even if it meant confronting the twisted nightmare that had become my reality. Image prompt: a cozy but dimly lit living room, a small round table separating two friends. Sarah, in a vibrant floral dress, is leaning forward, her concerned expression reflecting the weight of their conversation. I sit across from her, my hair a mess of loose curls. Adorned in an oversized sweater, a mix of confusion and determination evident in my hazel eyes. On the table between us, a crumpled receipt barely visible, hinting at the storm brewing beneath the surface. I can't shake the feeling of paranoia that coats my thoughts like a thick fog as the days skip by. My heart races, pulsing with the urgency of a clock ticking down to something catastrophic. I need proof, actual proof, before I lash out at Jamie. Each conversation, every fleeting moment spent with him twists like a knife in my back, leaving me raw and frayed. That next morning, fueled by desperation, I pull open my laptop, the screen flickering in the dim light of the kitchen. The smell of stale coffee wraps around me, a bitter reminder of sleepless nights spent spiraling deeper into confusion. I type private investigator near me, watching a list populate the screen like a beacon of hope in my turmoil. Before I can second-guess myself, I click on the first listing. Soon, I find myself staring at a picture of a man in a grey suit holder, with a well-groomed beard and eyes that seem to pierce right through me. I don't even finish my coffee before dialing the number, my fingers trembling. Parker and Associates, how can I help you? A smooth, reassuring voice answers. Hi, I need help. My husband, I think he's hiding something. I need to find the truth. My chest tightens as the words pour out, each one heavy with the weight of my apprehension. Sure, I can assist with that. What exactly are you looking for? He asks, his voice calm in the face of my turmoil. I believe he might be. Well, he might be cheating, or at least he's acting suspiciously. I found a receipt for a paternity test kit, and I don't even know if our baby is actually his. My voice falters, but I push through. I need to know if he's lying to me, all right? I'll need to gather some background information first. Can we meet in person today? He asks, the steady tone of his voice grounding me. I agree, and the meeting is set for later that afternoon. As I hang up, my heart thuds in my chest, laced with both fear and relief. Perhaps I'm not as hopeless as I thought. Perhaps this is a path leading out of the labyrinth of confusion. The meeting with the investigator, Mark, feels like it pours ice over my swirling thoughts. The office is minimalist, white walls adorned with framed certificates, and the faint scent of his musky cologne mingles with the musty odor of old paper. I take a seat, and Mark leans casually against his desk, arms crossed, all business. Tell me everything, he prompts, his eyes sharp, absorbing every word I speak. Jamie and I were happy once, but everything changed during my pregnancy. It's like he turned into a stranger, always working late, acting defensive, and now this receipt. I feel like I'm losing my grip on reality, I admit, pulling the crumpled slip from my pocket and slapping it on the table. Mark picks it up, studying it, then looks back at me. I'll help you get to the bottom of this. I'll start by tailing him and reviewing his financial records. Can you describe his typical schedule? I nod, emboldened by his presence. He leaves for work early and often comes home late. He says it's for overtime, but I can't help but feel it's something else. All right, I'll need around 2 days to gather information. As Mark works, I dive into my own detective work. I install small recorders in our living spaces where I know Jamie frequently retreats. The office, the lounge, even our bedroom. I tell myself it's for my peace of mind, to gather irrefutable evidence before I confront him. Days roll into an anxious haze. While he's gone, I strain to make sense of each hushed conversation I overhear, each careless slip of the tongue weaving tighter threads of suspicion around me. But I also reach out to Sarah, desperate to fill the void of isolation, hoping she can provide the clarity I crave. One afternoon, she swings by my hotel-like apartment, her cheerful demeanor cutting through the thick air that seems to haunt me. "Have you heard anything?" she asks, her eyes brighter than the sunlight spilling through the window. I shake my head, disheartened. I've got those recorders in place, but I can't shake the worry. What if he catches me? I admit, anguish pulsing through my chest. "Don't think about that," Sarah says, placing her hand over mine. "You deserve to know the truth. You're stronger than you think. Just remember I'm here for whatever you need." With those words, I feel an inkling of hope simmer beneath the surface, igniting the resolve I didn't quite know I had. As the clock ticks into the early evening the following day, Mark texts me with an update. I am a coiled spring, the anticipation pulsing through me as I read the words, "Meet me at Calf Metro ASAP." Over steaming lattes in a bustling cafe, Mark leans in, his voice lowered. "I have something concrete. Jamie's been communicating with someone frequently. It seems like more than just a work relationship." The text suggests there could be someone else in the picture, he reveals, and the world around me fades. "It can't be. .. I whisper, but the fear gnaws at my stomach. What do I do? Mark places a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "Observe. Don't confront him yet. Gather as much evidence as you can to know how deep this goes." A sense of empowerment begins to rise within me, but it quickly flashes into stark uncertainty. "How can he do this? I don't understand," I lament. "We'll find out together. I'll continue digging, and we'll make sure you have the upper hand when the time comes," he replies, a solid anchor amid the storm brewing in my heart. I nod, the fear of the unknown battling against a burgeoning spirit of determination. I will fight for the truth, no matter what it takes. Image prompt. A cozy cafe filled with patrons, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafting through the air. Mark, a man in his mid-40s with a salt and pepper beard, leans over a table, his expression serious as he discusses the investigation. I, with wavy brown hair and wide hazel eyes, clutch a coffee cup with trembling hands, a mixture of fear and determination evident on my face. I could feel the fear coiling in my stomach as I confronted Jamie that evening. The air was thick with tension. Stale popcorn from our movie night still lingered in the living room, a tainted reminder of happier moments that now felt like they belonged to a different lifetime. My heart pounded as I tucked the DNA test results, blue paper vibrating with anticipation, deep into my pocket. "Jamie, can we talk?" I said, my voice trembling despite my efforts to sound strong. The glow from the TV cast flickering shadows across his face as he leaned back on the couch, blankly focused on the screen, as if the show held more of his attention than my pleas. "Make it quick," he mumbled, not bothering to look in my direction. "I found something important." I pressed on, controlling my shivering hands, feeling the edges of the paper digging into me. "And I think we need to discuss it." "Discuss what?" His tone dripped with irritation as he turned to face me, his brow furrowing. "About the baby. And the test I found in your office." The words clattered into the silence between us. A bomb dropped into water, rippling thin layers of tension. "What are you talking about?" He stood up abruptly, the edge in his voice sending a shudder down my spine. I retrieved the results, movement slow, my fingers unsteady. "This," I said, extending the blue paper toward him, heart pounding like a drum. "The paternity test. Who is the father, Jamie? Is it you?" His eyes darkened as he snatched the paper, glancing at it and then back to me, anger radiating off him like heat from a furnace. "You think you can just waltz in here with your accusations? This is absurd. There's nothing to worry about." "Nothing to worry about," I echoed, incredulity pulsing in me. "So you're saying you didn't buy this to check if our child is yours? The baby was never in question until you brought it up?" His voice was a harsh whisper, each word digging deeper, twisting in my gut. "You've been paranoid ever since you started talking to that investigator. You're making yourself crazy." "I'm not crazy. I saw what I saw." Each syllable broke from my lips, fueled by desperation as the walls seemed to close in around me. Maybe you should see a therapist or something, he suggested dismissively, folding his arms across his chest, solidifying the wall between us. This isn't normal behavior, and you know it. You think you're the victim, the only one suffering. Look at you, overreacting over a simple test. I felt the heat rise in my cheeks, a flush of humiliation washing over me. You don't get to turn this around on me. I don't feel safe in this relationship anymore. Safe? He scoffed, voice laced with mockery. You're safe here in this home I've built for you. Who's going to take care of you if you keep hallucinating and imagining things? Each word struck like a knife, digging into the very core of my resolve. I couldn't stand it anymore. I'll find a way out of here, Jamie, I said with raw defiance, my voice cracking with warning. I won't be the one who lets you manipulate me any longer. See, that's the problem. You act like you're so empowered when in fact you're just a basket case, he said, a cold smirk creeping across his lips. Do you even hear yourself? You sound insane. You'd be lost without me. You wouldn't even know how to take care of that baby without me here. I could feel the panic dripping down my spine, but I refused to let his words crush me. You can't keep using that against me forever. I deserve better. Suddenly, his gaze sharpened. You need to remember your place, sweetheart. He took a step closer, invading my space, anger electrifying the air around us. I'll make sure everyone knows how unstable you really are if you keep this up. It won't end well for you. The threat hung in the air, chilling me to the bone, a dark cloud cloaking every resolve I held close. I fumbled for words, but they refused to come, leaving me gasping in the fraught silence that stretched between us. I stammered, grappling with the horror of his cold indifference. Would anyone believe me? He leaned back, his laughter echoing off the walls, a mocking sound that resonated painfully in my ears. If you decide to dig further, I'll make sure you regret every single word you've just said. You'll be the crazy one in this story, not me. His eyes twisted and darkened, and suddenly the warmth of the living room turned to ice. I felt an overwhelming urge to flee, to escape the suffocating atmosphere thickening like smog. But I couldn't move. I stood rooted in place, caught between my instincts, clenching the paper in my pocket like a lifeline to some semblance of truth. In that moment, I felt the fracture grow, the realization that I was in too deep. As he returned to the comforting glow of the TV, a flash of resolve burned within me. I would gather every ounce of strength I could muster and expose the reality lurking beneath the treacherous surface. Image prompt: a dimly lit living room dominated by the flickering light of the TV. Jamie stands tall and imposing, his dark-combed hair falling into his piercing gaze that cuts through the space like ice. In the foreground, I stand small and tense, clutching my blue DNA results in my shaky fingers, wide-eyed and frightened as the oppressive tension hangs thick in the air like a storm about to break. The days following our explosive confrontation were a blur of tension. I kept waiting for Jamie's anger to simmer down, for some form of reconciliation, but it never came. Instead, the air in the house grew heavier, silence wrapping around us like a shroud, thick and suffocating. One evening I sat at the kitchen table, fingers tracing the edges of the crumpled DNA results and the dull ache of anxiety radiating through me. The sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the dust motes floating in the air, but I felt cold. My phone buzzed a message from Sarah, a lifeline amid the turmoil. Want to talk? I glanced at Jamie, sprawled across the living room couch, glued to the TV, and decided I needed the support. Yeah, can you come over? I typed back, praying for a semblance of clarity in the tangled web of emotions I found myself caught in. While I waited for her to arrive, I made a cup of tea, the sweet scent of chamomile struggling to soothe the jagged nerves that twitched beneath my skin. Just as I poured the hot liquid, I heard Jamie's voice rise over the sound of the kettle. What are you planning, huh? He snapped, cutting through the kitchen tranquility. I turned to find him staring at me, eyes narrowed, suspicion warping his features. Planning? I echoed, startled. I'm just making tea. He laughed, but there was no humor in it, just venom. Right, just making tea while you plot your next move. What the hell are you talking about? I put the mug down, staring back at him. You've got it all twisted. Twisted? You think I'm the one twisted? You're the one digging for dirt, the one trying to turn people against me. He stood up, his stature towering intimidatingly. I swear, if you continue with this charade, I will make sure you regret every little thing. I'm not playing a game, Jamie. I just want the truth. My voice shook as I felt the walls of my resolve begin to crumble under his intimidation. The weight of his threats pressed down on me, squeezing the air from my lungs. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a low, threatening growl. You think you can escape this? I'll take everything from you if that's what it comes to. Our baby, the house, everything. I froze, the reality of his words finally sinking in like a heavy stone in my stomach. My hands trembled around the warm mug as I faced him. You wouldn't try me. The hardness in his eyes quaked with intensity. Bring anyone else into this, and I'll unleash hell. You'd be the one left without a place to stay, without a home. Just then, a knock interrupted the suffocating confrontation. Relief surged through me as I opened the door to find Sarah. Her warm smile faltered when she saw my expression, and she rushed in. "What's going on?" she asked, concern seeping from her voice, as she caught sight of Jamie's silhouette. "Nothing," he snapped, turning his back to her as if she didn't exist. I felt the grounds beneath my feet shift toward a deeper pit of despair. "Jamie, can we talk outside?" Sarah suggested carefully. "I think you should give her some space. But this is my house," he retorted, fists clenching at his sides, anger boiling in his tone. "What makes you think I need to abide by your rules?" "Because this isn't just about you," she replied, her voice steady in the thick tension. "You're scaring her." He laughed, a sharp, dangerous sound. "You really think you're helping? You're just making it worse." Before I could respond, he turned to me, teeth gritted. "Don't think I won't cut you off completely, even from your precious friends. You'll end up alone. Do you understand? I'm trying to help her." Sarah shot back, her voice infused with frustration. "Help?" he sneered. "The only thing you're doing is complicating things more." After a suspended moment, it became evident that the peace had shattered. Unable to withstand the growing intensity, I hastily moved to grab my purse, my escape plan already forming in my mind. I needed to leave this house, if only briefly, to allow myself space to breathe. "Just go," Jamie growled, his voice dripping with contempt as he turned back to the couch. "See if I care. You think I won't kick you out? This is my place." "Jamie, don't," I pleaded, but the words fell from my lips like whispers in a storm as I reached for Sarah's hand. "We can figure this out together," she said softly as we moved toward the exit. I felt a pit forming in my stomach. A chilling realization dawned on me. What if he was serious? The thought of being kicked out, of losing everything we'd built, sent a fresh wave of panic coursing through me like icy fire. "I'll call you," Sarah promised as we stepped outside into the twilight air. The cool breeze a stark contrast to the oppressive atmosphere I had left behind. As we walked to the car, parked along the curb, I pleaded. "I can't let him push me out like this. I can't. He's not going to take everything from me. Let's get you somewhere safe, and then we'll plan," she assured. "But you have to stay strong." We drove for what felt like hours while I tried to breathe through the anxiety bubbling at the surface. But the reality of being cut off, losing the emotional support of my husband, of my home, clawed at every thread of hope I had left. I would still risk it all to learn the truth, but as I gazed out the window, the fading sunlight reflecting off the buildings like a promise was being snuffed out, I felt a bitter chill creeping in. "Maybe I should get a lawyer," I whispered as the weight of despair settled heavily on my chest. Sarah glanced over at me, her expression layered with urgency and determination. "Yes, you absolutely must. You won't go down without a fight, okay? No matter what he says, you have the truth on your side." As those words rolled off her tongue, I drew the tiniest bit of strength from her presence. But deep within, I felt the walls closing in, a fear tightening its grip around me, like a vice I couldn't escape. The thought of losing everything I'd held dear was gnawing at my insides. With every passing second, I felt the fight within me begin to wane, crushed by the weight of impending loss. They thought they had destroyed me. If you hate bullies, hit the like button. Image prompt. A dimly lit exterior of a house in twilight. Just outside the door stands a worried young woman, her distressed features illuminated by the soft glow of a street lamp. Beside her, a steadfast friend in a floral dress offers support amidst the haze of uncertainty. The tension is palpable, and the looming house in the background betrays an air of menace, shrouding the couple in the fragile promise of hope. As I sat in my friend Sarah's living room, the weight of Jamie's accusations hung heavily around me, like an oppressive fog. My heart raced as the taste of betrayal clung to my tongue, the need for clarity crashing over me in waves. Sarah shuffled back into the room, carrying a laptop, her expression a mix of determination and concern. "Okay, we need to dig deeper," she said, setting the device on the table between us. "Tell me everything you know about Jamie's recent activities. I want to see if we can uncover something that proves he's not who he claims to be." I took a deep breath, feeling a ripple of hope snake through my veins. He's been acting strange for months, always working late, always defensive. And the name he mentioned during our last argument, that I should have been grateful for what I had, made me wonder. What if there's something buried deep that I don't know? "Let's start there," Sarah suggested, opening a search engine. "Pull up any public records, social media profiles, anything that might connect him to someone else." The sound of tapping keys echoed in the stillness, punctuating my anxious silence. "What if he's hiding a family?" I whispered, guilt tightening around me like a noose. "Is that even possible?" "Anything is possible," she said, eyes trained on the screen, furrowing her brow in concentration. "Let's see if he has any surprises waiting for you." Minutes ticked by, and my heart felt like it was in a chokehold. When Sarah clicked on a link and leaned in close, I felt my pulse quicken. "Look at this. There's a public profile of him, but not just work. It mentions a charity event here where he hosted some gala last year." "A gala?" My eyebrows knitted together. "He never mentioned anything like that." "Wait, let me open this," she said, clicking through images. "There might be something more." As she scrolled, the dark swirl of dread constricted within me. "What are you looking for?" I asked. "Anything that ties him to another life, another relationship," she murmured, engrossed. Then, her expression shifted as she gasped, pointing at the screen. "Here, look at this picture." I leaned closer and clasped my hands together. The photo featured Jamie standing beside a woman who radiated warmth with bright red hair, wearing a stunning black dress, a sparkling smile on her face. My stomach twisted painfully as I read the caption, "CEO Jamie Lawson and his wife, Brianna, hosting the annual charity gala." "What?" I breathed, stunned into silence. "Wife? He's married?" "Apparently," Sarah said, disbelief coating her voice like a thick layer of foreign wax. "This changes everything." I staggered back, confusion crashing into me like a tidal wave. I can't believe it. I thought I was imagining things. "Let's not jump to conclusions yet. This could change everything. But we need proof," she pressed, tugging me back to reality. There was more. The nervous energy that ebbed and flowed within me ignited with newfound purpose. "I need to confront him," I declared, teeth clenched in determination. "No way," Sarah cautioned. "Not yet. We're not equipped to deal with this kind of confrontation. We need to be smart." My mind raced, processing her words. "Then what do we do? Let's gather evidence. We can use this photo and any other leads to pin down his deceptions." She typed with renewed vigor, her fingers dancing across the keyboard. "I'll keep looking, but we need to be cautious. If there's a hidden life, he'll fight back." The thought sent chills through my spine, but beneath it all, I felt the first flickers of empowerment. "You're right. I won't rush into blind confrontation." "Good," she said with a nod. "But you need to get that DNA test result and make sure you have everything in order before we move forward." As Sarah continued her search, the weight of uncertainty was momentarily lifted, replaced by a flickering flame of hope igniting within me. Not just for my child, but for myself. Perhaps I could reclaim the parts of me that had been stolen. After an hour of intensive searching, Sarah leaned back, fingers stretching as she sighed. "I think I found something." "What is it?" I asked, feeling the rush build again, my heart pounding like a war drum. "There's a pending court case involving him and a woman named Brianna. It looks like she filed for divorce." "Divorce?" I echoed, confusion mingling with curiosity. "Why?" "Let's dig deeper," she said, determination dancing in her eyes. The clicking of keys filled the air as I felt the adrenaline rush in my veins, the pieces slowly falling into place. "I've learned enough to know that Jamie has been living a double life. By the time we're through, I'll make sure he pays for this betrayal." Each word fortified my resolve as Sarah nodded, pride gleaming in her gaze. Let's find the smoking gun. We can't let him win. Image prompt. In a cozy yet dimly lit living room, two women huddle over a laptop, their faces illuminated by the glowing screen. Sarah, a focused friend, scans the screen's information with determination, her brow furrowed in concentration. I sit beside her, my wavy brown hair tumbling into my worried hazel eyes, holding my breath as conflict and hope play across my expression. The air feels electric with tension, anticipation, and the promise of revelation. The day had finally come, the day I had meticulously planned for weeks. Each heartbeat echoed in my chest as I prepped for what felt like my final showdown with Jamie. My hopes shimmered with trepidation, the DNA results burning a hole in my pocket like the secret they were. It's just a little longer, I whispered to myself, steadying my breath, the morning sun casting a warm blanket over my skin. We were headed to the annual charity gala at the same venue he had hosted before, an event I had overlooked in the chaos of our lives together. I had to play my part perfectly, act like I was still the oblivious wife, the weak one trapped in a web weaved by his lies. If I could convince him I was all but over it, I could catch him off guard. "You look beautiful tonight," Jamie said, offering me a watered-down smile as we arrived, gripping my elbow like a lifeline. The grand entrance was bustling with people in fancy gowns and black ties. The scent of lilacs filled the room, blending with the rich notes of red wine pouring around us as we stepped onto the polished floor, illuminating laughter and chatter. "Thanks, Jamie." I slid my hand down my soft, elegant dress, feeling the fabric caress my skin. "You clean up pretty well yourself," I replied, forcing a smile as I took in his crisp navy suit paired with a slightly wrinkled white dress shirt. As guests mingled, the atmosphere fizzled with the vibrancy of excitement, but my heart raced, not out of thrill but cold determination. Jamie led me to a table filled with porcelain plates and flickering candles, and I gripped the edges of my chair, grounding myself before the storm. "Let's get a drink," he suggested, and I nodded, following him toward the bar where jewel-toned cocktails glistened, capturing the lights shimmering above. "2 red wines, please," he ordered. I felt the bartender's curious gaze on me, igniting the fervor in my veins, while I concocted the plan swirling in my mind. Once the drink slid down before us, Jamie picked up his glass, a veil of confidence shading his features. "To us," he smirked, his eyes glistening like a predator that had swayed at the jungle. "To us," I echoed softly, bringing the glass to my lips, drinking deep as I readied myself for the performance of a lifetime. After savoring a few sips, I feigned a casual tone. "I've been thinking about everything that's happened, about us." My heart raced, but I didn't dare let it show. His brow furrowed, tension radiating from the air between us like a thick fog. "And I think I'm ready to move on from the past, Jamie. I want us to make this work," I whispered, allowing a hint of vulnerability to seep through while studying his reaction carefully. "Really?" He leaned in, surprise mingling with curiosity. "I didn't expect this from you." "Oh, I've learnt so much these past few months, Jamie. It's empowering, actually," I replied, my eyes locking onto his with fierce resolve, "but I'll need help from you." Transparency. Of course. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes," he declared, the smirk cautiously returning to the corners of his mouth. Little did he know his words would become his downfall. At that moment, I waved over to Sarah, motioning her in. She joined us, dressed in a dramatic black gown that accentuated her confident stride. "Hey, look who showed up!" she beamed, nudging me playfully. "Sarah! Perfect timing!" I gestured toward Jamie, recognizing the opportunity blooming before me, filling the void of uncertainty. "I was just explaining how I want to let go of all the tension between Jamie and me. A fresh start." "Great, that's exactly what I wanted to hear," Sarah replied, glancing knowingly at me. My heart raced, a mixture of excitement and fear coursing through my veins. "I'm glad to hear that too," Jamie said, the tone of his voice betraying a hint of skepticism, but he masked it quickly. "I'm all in, right?" "Right," I affirmed, my spirit vibrating with the deception I crafted in my heart. "Let's toast to new beginnings." With impeccable timing, Sarah was quick to smooth the atmosphere over with fresh joy. We raised our glasses, the clink of crystal echoing through the elegant space as everyone around us cheered in celebration. In that moment, while the air thrummed with laughter and the scent of lilacs, I felt every word simmer and every thread tautened beneath the surface. I leaned close to Sarah, whispering the words that would seal our twisted game. Remember how I said I wanted to share my plans? I'm ready. The trap was set, and Jamie's guard was lowered. He had no idea that I was prepared to corner him, not in private, but right here, where his lies would echo back to him without reprieve. And as our laughter blended with the music, I breathed in the fragrant air, knowing that tonight I would seize everything he had shattered. I had to decide, forgive or destroy. Tell me in the comments. Image prompt: at an extravagant gala. I stand between Jamie and Sarah at a polished table adorned with flickering candles. My elegant beige dress contrasting with Sarah's dramatic black gown. Jamie towers over us in his navy suit, an air of confidence masking tension underneath. The scene captures the dazzling ballroom, festooned with flowers and glimmering lights, while I wear a glint of steely resolve in my eyes, ready to unveil the truth. The air in the grand ballroom settled thick with anticipation, a myriad of whispers swirling like the silk of my gown that hugged my curves, every step echoing the resolve that surged within me. As I made my way toward the stage, the eyes of our guests flitted toward me, curiosity mingling with excitement. The opulent lighting danced off the crystal chandeliers, casting sparks of light that refracted through the tension gripping the room. The time had come. I had painstakingly gathered evidence, my heart fortified with each new discovery, and today was the moment of truth. Jamie had no inkling of the revelations I was about to unveil, and at a venue flooded with our friends and family, it made the grand exposure that much more devastating. As I climbed the few steps to the stage, the air crackled with an electric charge, every heartbeat reverberating through my veins. I turned to face the crowd, their eager faces reflecting back at me, and clutched the microphone with renewed conviction. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. I know this event is meant to celebrate joy and love, but I must bring some truth into the light. I paused, the sound of my voice slicing through the murmur that had overtaken the room. Jamie's expression shifted immediately, that confident facade flickering as concern flashed across his eyes. But I pressed on, my heart pounding a steady rhythm of courage. I stand before you all not just as Jamie's wife, but as a woman whose entire life has been turned upside down far beyond anything I could have envisioned. Tension wound around my chest like a noose as I scanned the crowd. Sarah stood at the front, her eyes wide with support, her lips pressed into a tight line. I could see the horror dawning on Jamie's face as my intention became clear. His brow furrowed, the anger simmering beneath the surface not far from boiling over. You see, for months, I've lived in a world cloaked in lies and fear, I continued, the heat rising in my voice, fueling the fire within me. I've been navigating a marriage with a man who believed he could hide the truth, manipulating reality and gaslighting me into submission while using our future child as leverage. Gasps erupted from the crowd, tension thickening the air, perfectly ripe for the unraveling of Jamie's carefully curated life. Jamie Lawson, my husband, is a master of deception, but today, I will expose him to each of you, beginning with the evidence that paints a picture far darker than any of you can imagine. I held up the crumpled DNA test results, the paper fluttering like a lifeline amid the storm brewing in the ballroom. Though I barely noticed Jamie's reddening face, the tightening of his jaw, I pressed on. A paternity test he sought out to confirm something he had manufactured all along. A test that confirms the truth. The child I bore is not his. A murmur of shock rippled through the crowd as Jamie surged forward, an indignant snarl twisting his features. You are out of your mind. You can't do this. You can't just what? I interrupted, icy control lacing my words as I faced him. Tell the truth? You should know me better than that by now. You've left me no alternative. The tension escalated, enveloping the room, and my next revelation unleashed the last shreds of control he thought he maintained. This same DNA test confirmed that you switched our son with another child. I did no such thing, he roared, voice trembling with outrage. You're insane. Today you will see who the actual insane one is. I spat back, my voice resonating with cold elegance. I dug deeper, found online records, public court filings that you thought were conveniently hidden. Divorce papers from Brianna, the woman you've been married to while pretending to be my loyal husband. The same woman who bore your true child, The same child you had swapped with ours. The room fell silent. I watched as the realization washed over people's faces, disbelief morphing into horror. Your guise of vulnerability has been your greatest weapon all this time. And now, without the armor of lies, you stand exposed before everyone. I swear you'll regret this. Jamie's voice cracked, a desperate plea wrapped in rage, his face contorted in anger as he stepped back, realizing the walls were closing in. You brought this upon yourself, I clarified, seizing the moment of ultimatum. The eyes of the room bore into him, as if witnessing terror manifesting before them. Jamie Lawson, I continued, my heart racing toward the conclusion of this storm. You're no longer the man I believed you to be, and your fear tactics cease to have power over me. The truth will always rise, no matter how deep one tries to bury it. Silence weighed heavily, only interrupted by the increasing flash of cell phone cameras capturing each moment of his humiliation. I took another breath, steadying my emerging exhilaration. What's worse than being exposed? Living your life knowing you'll face the repercussions of your choices. You should never underestimate the power of a woman reclaiming her truth. Leave now. His voice cracked, a fractured command that hung in the air like a stale smoke. If you thought the destruction of lies would shatter me, Jamie, you were dead wrong. I will not be the victim in this tale, I refuse. I echoed, veins pulsing with the success of my revelation. Let me know what I can do to help, okay? Sarah's voice cut through the horror, reassurance delivered with unwavering strength as she stepped forward, ready to support me further. No longer trapped by his manipulations, I cast my gaze across the gathered crowd, their expressions torn between shock and empathizing concern. As for you, Jamie, you will face what lies ahead, alone. The villain in this story isn't me. It's you and all the deceit you've orchestrated. With that, I turned and walked away, leaving Jamie behind his legacy, the shattered remnants of his deception spilling onto a stage now illuminated by the truth. Image prompt. A lavish ballroom bustling with guests in elegant attire, chandeliers glimmering overhead. On stage, I stand with a poised microphone in one hand, dressed in an elegant gown, my fierce hazel eyes locked onto Jamie, who stands in disbelief, his face flushed with anger. The crowd behind me is a mix of shock and sympathy, their expressions frozen in time as the truth hangs thick in the air like an impending storm. The days passed in a haze of bittersweet triumph, the aftermath of Jamie's public exposure falling heavy on my shoulders like a leaden cloak. The dust began to settle, and the truth I had fought desperately to uncover was now clear for all to see. Yet beneath the initial rush of victory, there lingered a sense of emptiness. "What's next for you?" Sarah asked softly one afternoon as we sat in my living room, now filled with light streaming through the windows, illuminating the space's rebirth from shadows. The remnants of our chaotic past hung on my mind like echoes, still fresh from my confrontation with Jamie. "I don't know," I replied, feeling the weight of uncertainty tugging at my heart. I thought once I uncovered the truth, everything would fall into place. But there's a gaping hole where hope was supposed to be. When you expose someone like that, it doesn't just end, she continued, her eyes meeting mine with understanding woven into her gaze. "You know what you need to do, right?" I nodded, realizing the implications of my choices. Have him face consequences. Jamie's facade crumbled swiftly after our gala confrontation. He spiraled into denial, desperate attempts to reclaim control over the narrative as everything around him unraveled at lightning speed. His friends pulled away, whispering behind closed doors about the man he was, a master liar, a coward barely clinging to his past glory. Rumors circled of his impending bankruptcy, friends lost in the chaos, egged on by the unfolding drama. Familiar faces that once surrounded him distanced themselves, unable to reconcile the duality of man they thought they knew. I hadn't intended for his life to devolve quite like this, but the image that met me during our divorce proceedings caused a sickening ripple within me. "Your Honor, I had no choice," Jamie shouted during our court appearance, a far cry from the collected individual I once mistakenly believed him to be. His cheeks flushed with embarrassment, the fresh stubble on his chin accentuating the deeper lines of worry etched across his face. "I did what was best for my family." I watched, breath caught in my throat, as the judge's brow furrowed. "So you thought switching the babies would be the answer? That's hardly indicative of a responsible parent." An audience applauded the judge's words. murmurs of disbelief rippling through the courtroom as it became clear. Jamie would face charges not just for the betrayal, but for contempt surrounding the paternity case. "I'll fight this," he fumed as he was led away in handcuffs, defiance flickering through his hollow gaze. And as I left the courtroom, the weight of vindication washed over me. My heart felt lighter. Though the shadows of our past loomed behind me, the chains of his control had shattered. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. I reclaimed my independence, secured a new home, a sanctuary away from all remnants of his life. Laughter crept back into my days, filling the void his betrayal left behind. Surrounded by a flourishing circle of supportive friends and family, I finally learned to breathe and live for myself. "Your new place looks incredible," Sarah said one afternoon, surveying the new apartment I'd transformed with splashes of color and warmth. Retro furniture mixed with contemporary art, the sweet aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted from the kitchen. As the sunlight filtered in through sheer curtains, casting delicate shadows across the walls. "I feel like I can finally breathe," I shared, a genuine smile lighting up my face. "The fresh start is exactly what I needed." She nodded, eyes shining. "And your little one growing fast. Have you set up any plans for names and all that?" I laughed, a light-heartedness bubbling up. "Not yet, but I'm working through it. The nursery is almost ready, just need to finish some decor." But there lurked in my heart a persistent whisper, a reminder of Jamie's legacy. Every time I witnessed friends rally around me, I felt a pang of empathy for what he was destined to lose: a family, aspirations, and trust. The cold truth draped around his festering loneliness, a harsh reality battering at his life. Weeks turned into months, and the community rallied for change. News spread about Jamie's unmasking, whispers of his downfall accompanying every new story. Watching from a distance, I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sorrow. His choices led to a torn future filled with shadows that would last long after the headlines faded. "Do you think he'll ever get it together?" Sarah asked one evening as we stood outside the local coffee shop. Steam wafting into the cool air of early spring, watching the world bustle past us, or simply fade away? "I think he'll struggle for a long time," I replied, savoring the warmth in my hands. Unfortunately, he ate the fruit of his own bitter harvest. As I gazed around at the blooming flowers and sunlit streets, I realized that my past no longer held power over me. I had reclaimed my narrative, rising unscathed, reborn in the ashes of chaos. The sweet scent of lilac reminded me of resilience. "Let's continue moving forward," I suggested, and she smiled warmly, the promise of hope flickering in her eyes. I smiled back. "To new beginnings." "Exactly," she said, raising her drink toward me, our laughter mixing with the ambient sounds of spring. With courage ignited, I embraced the unknown, proving to myself that I could thrive. As I wove through the town, I discovered new hobbies. Met fascinating people, while my heart began to mend, transforming scars into crescents of hope, illuminating the path forward. And so I rose from the wreckage, reborn into a world where happiness felt tangible, and peace wasn't a luxury, but a necessity, an empowerment that would allow me to bask in the warmth of life. I had every intention of thriving. Subscribe for more karma. The next story is about another woman who wrestled with a toxic relationship, but this time, a true ally helped her reveal a shocking family secret, the bombshell that turned her life upside down and led her to finally take action. Image prompt: a bright sunlit living room filled with plants, sunlight pouring in through large windows, walls adorned with photographs of a smiling woman, myself, holding my baby, surrounded by joy and light. A warm aura permeates the atmosphere, glimpse of a thriving life bursting with resilience.